Let's face it, frozen shoulder sucks, right? Having shoulders that are glued in place and every movement hurts, achy nights, I bet you're sick of it, right? Okay, so my name's Anthony Moniz, and I'm one of the exercise therapists here at Axis Health, and I want to help you resolve your frozen shoulder with a few simple tools. Frozen shoulder, or the medical term is adhesive capsulitis, is a condition characterized by immobility in the shoulder. A frozen shoulder that you can't move through motion is really what it is. The causes of frozen shoulder aren't fully understood yet by the medical community, but we kind of have some guesses on what causes it. Statistics show that the majority of people who suffer from frozen shoulder are middle-aged women. Frozen shoulder typically starts with a minor injury to the shoulder, and then you slowly lose more and more range of motion. Your body builds up substantial amounts of scar tissue and adhesions in the joint capsule, and that's why it's called adhesive capsulitis, because the joint capsule gets many adhesions. Okay guys, so here is the humerus head. So basically that is the ball at the end of your arm that composes your shoulder, and it meets a ball that it sits in, and the joint capsule covers that and keeps that ball in place. So to illustrate what a joint capsule should typically do, I'm going to use a little plastic baggie. And so when we place this around the humerus head, you can see if I were to move that humerus head, it could go back and forth. This plastic will stretch. There's a lot of movement that can occur when I bring it up. The plastic stretches. And then, so if it were just a joint capsule, it wouldn't be very stable. So then over top of that, we have even more layers. So now you can see I added a green baggie, and that's your rotator cuff complex. So now you have even a little more stability. However, you'll see that this bag will stretch and move just like your tissue does. So when you get an injury to this area, your body reacts, and with frozen shoulder that is, it overreacts and it puts scar tissue in place to stabilize that shoulder. It does such a good job, you end up with a shoulder so stable it doesn't move, so it's immobile. So what that looks like is, so instead of a plastic baggie, now you have adhesions throughout your joint capsule, throughout the tendons. So now you want to go and move your arm. Oh, nothing. Doesn't move to the left, doesn't move to the right. Oh, if I really took and moved that really fast. Oh, let's really force it to move. Oh, I just ripped my rotator cuff. Okay, so I know that's a little dramatic, but it's kind of accurate. Really, your joint capsule should be flexible, move around, and when it comes stiff and rigid, you're more susceptible to tear it, but it also needs to be slowly manipulated and stretched back to length so that you can move your shoulder through that full range of motion like we all have. Okay, so what we need to do is aggressively stretch out the joint capsule and the tendons that are restricting our range of motion. So let's jump into the exercise, guys. The first exercise we do is called a wall walk. This is to restore abduction, or lifting your arm off your side. So starting with your hand down low, slowly creep your fingers up, lifting the arm up by your side, keeping the scapula lowered, or shoulder blade pressed down away from the ear, feeling the stretch on the bottom portion of the arm. On the second portion of the exercise, you'll face the wall and do the same thing, creeping the fingers up the wall, sliding your arm up in front of your body, trying to stretch out the bottom portion of your arm and keep the shoulder blade down away from your ear. Starting with your back against the wall, palms forward, bring your arms as close to the wall as possible and slide your arms up over your head. Many of us with frozen shoulder will not come close to this amount of motion demonstrated, but our goal is to keep our back of our hands and the back of our elbows against the wall and slide up as high as we can and then hold for a stretch. This is a demonstration of optimal shoulder movement. Next exercise, hanging traction. So find something to stabilize one arm against. Take a light to heavy weight, 8 to 10 pounds or even more than that depending on your body type. And then we're just doing circular motions, letting the arm traction out of the socket. After we've done a few circular motions, we can start doing some shrugs. So what we'll do is just take our arm and shrug it up towards the ceiling and let it drop down out of the socket so it can contract and relax, stretch. Now we'll do the opposite. So this is going to be on your back, taking that arm and shrugging it up towards the ceiling and letting it sink back into the socket. So now we're mobilizing the back of the socket. Once we've done a few shrugs, then we'll add in some rotation. So we'll rotate in and rotate out, creating internal and external rotation in the posterior or back of the joint. And last but not least, internal and external rotation with a little resistance. So what we'll do here is lay on your back, take a 3 to 5 pound weight, elbow straight out to the side, and slowly internally and externally rotate. You'll get a stretch to the joint as well as strengthening two of the very important stabilizing rotator cuff muscles. So as usual guys, stay persistent with these exercises. Since we're doing mobility work, you need to do these at least once, if not that, twice a day. Not going to sugarcoat this guys. Frozen shoulder is extremely painful. It's going to be painful to get out of, and it's going to be even more painful if you just leave it. So with any pain-causing disorder, your best bet is to first see a professional. We make these videos to help the general public that can't get into our clinic or haven't been able to resolve their problems even after they've seen a professional. With this specific disorder, a lot of areas compensate. So the neck is going to become ragingly tight, your upper back's going to have an array of joint disorders, even your mid-back is going to start to compensate for that lack of movement that you've had for months, maybe even years. Other video to match with this one will be rotator cuff strength. So once you get the mobility back in your shoulder, next you need to start building strength in the rotator cuff muscles to support that joint in movement and resistance. One of the things we tell our clients is pain is your check engine light. Take a look under the hood before you end up on the side of the road. Hope you guys found this useful. Tune in into our next exercise program.